Welcome to the Magentleman Podcast.
Welcome, everyone. If you're joining us for the second time, thank you.
Yes. Now, I don't know if you know this, DB, but we got a dislike on the first video.
Yeah, I was so disappointed by that. I'm like, what did we do? Like, even if you didn't,
I know what it is. I know what it is. Okay. So we have to introduce the topic because here's the deal, people. We are going to talk a little bit before jumping into the topic, which today, what is the topic, DB?
work-life balance.
Work-life balance. That's right. And I would imagine the person who clicked dislike just wasn't prepared for the banter. You know, they wanted a Magento technical podcast, and they were like, "Ah, this is not what I was sold."
Yeah, I thought about that, right? But I mean, the person didn't leave a comment. We have no idea who they are. It's just like a thing
It's probably
swirling
my
in the back
wife.
of something. It's just swirling in the back of my head. I'm just like, man, that person really didn't like the podcast. He went out of his way to like give us a thumbs down.
He or she, yes,
He or she, yeah.
I do like the "it's my wife" theory. Although she claims she gave an upvote, which smash the like button, people. Hit
Please,
subscribe.
we really need it, right? If we're gonna have 1 million subscribers and like tons and tons of views by the end of the year, we need those likes.
Yes, absolutely. And you'll notice this week we didn't wear the same shirt.
Yeah, I mean, his shirt's pretty cool, way cooler than mine. That's possibly another reason why they gave it a thumbs down. Maybe they're like, what do these guys think wearing the same shirt, right?
They just,
The audacity.
yeah.
um, well, so the topic is work-life balance, right? So how balanced do you feel your work life was this week?
Oh man. So that's the thing. That's the funny part about this topic. And I'm sorry, I'm looking. I have notes. But I've been struggling trying to think about how to properly talk about this because it's almost like a smoker, who is going to talk about not smoking. Um,
Same
and
here, right?
yeah, and I guess, okay. So I am a culprit as far as working too much. But I do have some strategies and some ways where it's like it's not necessarily a bad thing. So I'm not going to advocate like straight up um, work all the time, obviously. But I'm also not going to go the other way on this one, and I'm not going to say what I think I probably should say, which is, you know, um, don't work all the
So I'm a bit confused at this point, but I'm listening.
time. Okay, so you want me to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So here's what I do. Okay, and I went over this with my wife quite a bit too because, that's really what this thing is all about. Is it's not necessarily like for me anyway. It could be different for the young stallion programmer out there on his or her own. But as someone with a family, work-life balance really is, for me anyway, about um, making sure that the people in my life are on board with how much I want to work. Now, that um, goes in kind of spurts for me, right? So, like, I will plan out, like, let's say, hey, next month I'm gonna take on a side job or I'm gonna do a lot of extra studying and I'll go hard for that month. And I might get my wife on board ahead of time. And that way it's not some surprise that suddenly I'm working a lot or I'm doing this extra thing. That's kind of a big part of it for me is just making sure. And it doesn't go on forever because then I'll burn myself out. Right. And I don't want to do that either. So it's like I contain it and I plan ahead. And that way, I don't burn myself out and the people around me aren't like, what the heck is going on?
Yeah. I mean, I can definitely relate. Um, I mean, my girlfriend does complain when when I work a lot. And unlike you, I don't necessarily plan when I'm gonna work a lot. I do end up just working a lot for when people kind of like people make these New Year's resolutions that they're gonna work out and stuff like that. Like my resolution is always that I'm gonna spend more time with family, or you know, relax a little bit more, spend time with friends and stuff like that. But then I don't know. It's like I'm addicted to working. Even though I'm like, yeah, I'm burnt out and I'm tired, I always find a way to get involved with some activity that involves me working, right? I'm always taking on some project, or I don't know, trying to bring in some extra money somehow from the side project or something like that. I mean, you know, shameless plug, PHP Studios, right? So,
Absolutely.
yeah, so when I transitioned to my new job, making more than I made previously, I was kind of like, yeah, maybe I should just take it easy. I don't need to make any more money. And then an opportunity, someone spoke to me, and it was like, maybe we should try to start an agency. And here I am juggling my job and an agency. Um, yeah, and the key, what I always feel bad about is, yeah, how does this affect my significant other? How do my friends feel about it? Because they're like, well, you said when you graduated school, you'd have more time for us, right? Because you were studying and all that. And now you've graduated, and we're expecting you to spend more time with us, but now you want to work a million hours at your job, and then on top of that, you want to start a business. And so,
I mean,
yeah.
I think you hit on something really important though, which is, and I mean, a part of it that like I would feel bad about, and I think my wife would be like, "What the heck?" is if I was spending a million hours at my normal 9 to 5 job.
Yeah.
Now that to me would be a big red flag, and I've definitely had that. I'm not going to name any names of which companies or whatever, but I've come into companies or had times at companies where they are really expecting you to work like all the time,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like this culture that somehow starts at some companies. And I would say that's a big red flag, and that's not something um, I necessarily want to be involved with or want to.
And I mean, I wouldn't say um, that this specific employer, because I've definitely worked for people that, expected for you to work crazy hours, and there was a launch every week, and every weekend you had to be doing something. Maybe it wasn't the company, but maybe the manager that I worked for that kind of created an environment where that was necessary to meet deadlines, right? It's more of like, sometimes you kind of are looking at like, especially when you're about to launch, right, and you want everything to go right, so you're kind of just like testing everything multiple times, trying to see what you can squeeze into the sprint, right? Making sure you don't disappoint. Maybe a bug shows up at the last minute, and now you're like, well, we need to launch this thing tomorrow, and this bug needs to be fixed, and we don't, we already said we're going to deliver this particular feature, right? I think specifically around those times at the end of a sprint, or near a release, right, it gets a little bit more stressful, and you do tend to push further, work a little harder, maybe work on the weekends so you can, meet that deadline.
Yeah,
And yeah.
I definitely agree with that. I mean, I think the thing about it is, I mean, every person will do it for themselves and recognize, like, hey, is this healthy? Is this
Hmm.
company doing a normal thing, or is it always going to be like this? They're not planning, they're not improving, they're
Yeah.
not. So then it's kind of up to you as the developer, like, is this, do I want to spend my whole life basically, not just my 9 to 5 hours, but also after work
Yeah.
working on this project? Am I making enough money? Does it justify? Is it cool with my family? Because like me and you just both said, like we are doing our 9 to 5 and then either studying
Yeah.
or maybe also studying and doing a side hustle. So
It's sorry to interrupt.
no, you're good. Go ahead.
No, but I mean, specifically as a developer, I mean, this kind of job kind lends itself to overworking. One, because the accessibility, right? It's kind of like you have your computer in front of you, so you're always you can always work, right? At any point in time you could be checking emails, right? That's the big one. You see an email, oh, somebody, I don't know, customer service is complaining about something XYZ on your site. Now you feel that pressure to go and work on it immediately because you feel like, oh, I'm responsible for this thing. Because I mean, a lot of people have jobs that require for them to be in a physical place, right? And once they're out of that place, right, they can't do anything. But as a developer, I don't like, you don't necessarily even know, even though it's bad practice, but you don't necessarily even need to use your computer's your employer's computer. You could work from any computer and check and code, right? So there's that accessibility factor. um and then, I mean, for example, like with COVID, I feel like a lot of people are probably overworking, right? Because there is no division between the office and your house. Your house is your office, right? um and it's just so easy to be like, well, I'm gonna work a little bit later because I don't have anywhere to go, right? I'm gonna just get out of bed and start doing some stuff so I can catch up on some work. Versus if you had to drive into the office and make that happen, it'd be different. I actually had a coworker personally tell me that she feels that with COVID, a lot of people that are working from home and everyone in her family, because they're working from home, she sees them working a lot more. What do you
Yeah.
think about that?
Well, I mean, I think there's a certain kind of person that is going to work more during COVID, but
Yeah.
I feel like there's also a certain kind of person going to be working less from home. Um, just so I get that, and I definitely am the type of person where if I don't have to drive to the office, like for me, maybe I do a little exercise or meditation or something in place of that, and then start work. My routine definitely changed. I don't know. COVID means I've been working more though. Um, like so, like one of the things I wanted to point out, right? Like, is your work life balance is out of whack if you're getting guff from people in your life, right?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
maybe the people in your life are out of whack. I don't know. It's you got to decide on that one.
Yeah.
But also, there's like a list, right? Like, so I found a list of stuff that can tell you if your work-life balance is weird. Number one is you're always tired,
Yeah.
or you always work overtime, or you always bring your work home, or you're out of shape. Oh no, I have a bad work-life balance. um, you don't enjoy yourself you don't enjoy yourself anymore, so you're just like depressed, or dang, you're struggling with relationships. I said that one. You don't know what to prioritize. You
Yeah.
lose patience too easily. I've been there. Your personal space is a mess.
Yeah.
Interesting. I've definitely seen it. Do you know that? Like, have you seen people with dirty desks and stuff?
I mean, there's definitely that stereotype, right? When you watch like movies and there's this like cool hacker that can hack anything and he's like the genius or whatever, right? But
Like in
like
Jurassic Park.
his life is like, his office is a mess. There's
Uh,
like,
uh, uh. Jurassic Park. Go ahead. Sorry.
oh, no, I thought I accidentally killed the
No, no, you're good.
because I can't see you right now. Hold
You
on.
can't see me?
No, I clicked.
Oh,
Okay, boom.
it's all
We're
good.
back.
By the way, I like your whole setup over there.
In my setup, it's
Yeah,
literally
it's like a white video, a white background, a white shirt. It's like a puffy video.
cool.
Freaking awesome, dude.
So I wasn't going for that, but
Well, hey.
apparently I'm killing it by not even trying. Imagine like if I, did put in some effort or something. But it's yeah. There's always this stereotype of like this programmer that's so concentrated on work, like, and he's just drinking Red Bull and just like I don't know, snack wrappers and fast food around his desk. So, and maybe to some levels, to some degree, that's true. And I was going to bring up a point. I read up a lot about work-life balance and just like the day in the life of a programmer. And what I've read about a lot is like these programmers that like work on video games or these video game startups, and how horrible of it, like how horrible their experience is. They end up like working like like over 100 hours every week and being paid like a lot less than regular developers, just because they're so passionate about video games or creating video games. So maybe it doesn't apply to every type of programmer. Definitely depends on which industry you're in, or your how big your company is, right? I would imagine, because I watched a documentary about how when Microsoft was in its infancy, how Bill Gates would not sleep, and they would just code all weekend and stuff, and he would like look down on people who didn't put in as many hours as him, and and those hours, like, you're talking about like sleeping 4 hours a day and just coding and coding and coding just so we can meet the deadline. And that brings to mind like people like Elon Musk and stuff like that. Elon Musk definitely doesn't have work-life balance, right?
I don't think so. No, I've heard tales that he like sleeps on the floor at the Tesla factory.
Yeah. Um, but which um
But
that brings. Go
for
ahead.
him, that's like work is life, right? Like,
Yeah. He's so passionate about what he does, and like what he's trying to accomplish is so huge, and like it's like, I mean, he's literally trying to take us to Mars, right? Which just sounds like a ridiculous idea. Even
yeah, I mean, but I guess the question I think we're getting at here is like, if you want to go as hard as possible, you
yeah,
almost have to exercise and take care of yourself
yeah,
and not just focus on the thing you're trying to go hard at, or else you're not going to do as good as you possibly could.
yeah. I mean, Elon has definitely had times where like he's had mental breakdowns, um and had to, and I think as of recent he's kind of like cooled off and extended his sleeping schedule to at least 6 hours.
Yeah,
Right.
he's trying to do the old Isaac Newton.
Yeah, so I mean, I think even he realizes the body has a limit, and burnout is definitely real. I've definitely experienced burnout, like times where like I was just looking at my IDE and I'm just like, man, I can't type another letter.
Oh
Right?
yeah.
Like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I just want to I just want to not think about code for a few days and just relax.
I will say though, and I don't know again if this is good advice or not. You might not want to go down this path, but I encourage people to find the edge.
Yeah,
Like, because I feel like, I mean, for me personally, for many years, I didn't push myself. I just went to work and I turned it off at the end and I had fun the rest of the time. But like, I just feel like am capable of so much more than if I don't push myself. I'm not. You just never know how much you can accomplish until you find that edge, and then you got to back up and don't keep going once you get there. Else, from what I've heard, it's really bad.
For me, it's more of like, um, I feel there's always this thing in the back of my head telling me, Steve, you don't know enough. You haven't accomplished enough. What if there's this problem that shows up and you could have just like read or watched this one video last week that would have prepared you for it, and you wanted to just relax, and now like you're already dealing with the problem, and you weren't prepared for it, and it's taking longer than it should be. I mean, there was also that pressure of like when I got my very first job, and we talked about this, and this is how it connects with imposter syndrome, right?
It all connects.
Right. For those who didn't watch the first video, we talked about imposter syndrome. So I think imposter syndrome plays a big role in it, right? When you first get into the industry, when you feel like there's this huge gap between what you need to know and what you actually know. Maybe it's because you just started at the company, maybe you just graduated and you don't have any real world experience, and you're just like, man, I need to do anything, I need to work as many hours necessary to to um to get this job done and to prove myself and to secure my position at this job. And you know, in some ways I kind of compare it to like being in college. It's kind of like, um at least when you first start in a company, um or when you're about to launch a product, it's kind of like, exam week. It's like, you know, I just need to cram enough and do it, like push it really hard for these next couple weeks. And then, after that, after this, I'll relax. But then there's always a new exam week. There's always a new thing. There's a new deadline that you need to meet. And, you just kind of repeat the cycle over and over.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, and I totally agree. The only thing is, like, I feel like where I am right now is that's at least something I'm willing to enforce it on myself,
Yeah.
is that I will relax after that, and I will take the break,
Yeah.
and I will kind of chill back a little bit, especially if I've been pushing hard on developers or whatever. And I always try to make it too. So, like, look, if a developer um, estimated some time and it's not getting done in that amount of time, it's almost like I need to step up and say, look, I'm here to help. Also, if my bosses will allow it, I can offer overtime maybe if you want, but I don't try to pressure that. Really, it comes down to planning on the company's side, and if they really feel like it's this developer who's not delivering, then I mean, that's kind of just it's such a problem that really only exists at bad companies.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, I, I don't know. It's just it's a symptom of a really bad thing if your company is really always pushing hard on you, and then it's like, well, if you're not delivering fast enough or something, then you're bad. You know, especially if it's really kind of junior people that you're bringing on and doing that to. It's I don't
Yeah.
know, man.
True, true. Well, companies definitely do that. I do think, for a junior person though, there's also some self-inflicted.
Oh yeah, and I totally agree with everything you
Yeah.
said. Like, I again, I'm gonna say something that I don't know if this is gonna sound right, but in the beginning, when I first started working, and for probably years, I was absolutely obsessed. I had to learn everything, I had to know everything, and I did it all the time, every time. And I think it's even worse now because that was probably 15 years ago, and the stuff, I guess, just as a front end developer, that you had to know when you got into it at that point was like JavaScript, CSS, and HTML, right? So you could build web pages as a front end person, layouts and stuff, and probably learn some PHP or
And
maybe
you
a
could
little.
you could design a web page using tables.
Yeah, I mean, no, honestly, when I first started, tables were on their way out. So that
Okay.
was, yeah, that was the big thing when I first got my first job was one of my skills that other people didn't have was I could do tableless layout. So tables were still good. I would tell people you could still put data in tables, but just don't do your layout with tables. And they're like, "Whoa, let's hire him." and
He's from the future.
he's from the future. Yeah, I just got out of college actually, and you know what they taught me? Check this out. I could make it work in IE6. That was the big thing back then. Quarks mode. Um,
Wow.
but dude, like that is the beginning of a career. I feel like because there's just so much to learn that you kind of have to dedicate yourself for a long period. You're not going to be partying. You're not going to be having a great social life. But, you know, 3 years later or whatever, you're going to have yourself a serious career that you can get down the
Yeah.
road on. And not, and that's the thing too. You kind of start doing these trade offs, you know, of like, okay, for this a period of time, I'm going to really dedicate myself. And then later, I'm going to be more of a normal person and kind of
Yeah.
and
Yeah. I think that plays a big role in it, right? What phase of your life are you in? Are you fresh out of college, right? Um, you pointed out that if you don't really have a family, at that point your focus is your career, and you're just trying to learn as much as you can. And maybe a work-life balance isn't as necessary. I'm not
well,
sure if I should say that.
yeah, no, but I mean, like as far as like you can't just work all the time because then you
Yeah,
won't even ever be like you said, you'll get to a point where you really did burn yourself out.
yeah.
I mean, I
It's
remember once I took a weekend job and I had 8 hours a day, Monday through Friday, and then I had 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, I would work 8 hours a day. And I think I lasted like 3 or 4 months before I just like, dude,
you were just crashing.
I just, I don't know what happened, but it was just like food didn't taste good. And like, I was just like, no
You
more
were
of
just
this.
like, what's the meaning of life?
Something, yeah. I think just having no days of break for that extended 3 month or whatever it was, 4 month period, it was like, whoa, this is not right.
It's not right. Somebody needs to fix this.
Now, I'll throw another thing out there. So, the 4 day work week. I've been hearing about this, and actually, I think Adobe is doing it. I
Yeah,
saw a thing on LinkedIn. Um, Now they're doing it once a month. I think it was hard to tell what that guy was saying. Let me
yeah.
pull up his little comment. But I mean, okay, so the thing about the 4 day work week, if it was once a month, um, fine. The That week though, under a normal load at a US company that normally works 5 days a week, is gonna be a crazy week. And I mean, because you're basically trying to jam 5 days into 4 days. So I mean, if
I'm
go ahead.
I'm assuming they'd probably like alternate it. Maybe they have, because they can't have like the weekend not covered by anybody, right?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I guess just generally like as a concept though, because I hear this come up once in a while. Like,
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't it be great if we worked 4 days a week instead? And I mean, I guess it usually comes along with like people saying like, look, I'd work 10 hours. I work 10 hour days if I can have Fridays off. And it's like, okay, like that's a possibility. I almost feel like I'd rather spread it out, and not do that. I don't know. Do you think that's a good work life balance type of thing?
I mean, so back in the day, I used to be a cable guy, right? At
Cable
Comcast.
guy.
So, and we had um, 10-hour days, right? So 4 day work weeks. And what I'd find was that I'd work a lot of overtime on the 4 days. So then by the time Friday comes around, like I'm so like burnt out that like Friday doesn't even count as a day off. I'm just like recovering. Right? I'm just like I'm just trying to like get back to like being a normal human being, like figuring out what it feel like, how to interact with the world again, because I worked so hard those 4 days, and it's still like I only just got 2 days off, because the first day is like a day just to recover, like just I'm in bed for I don't know until like 3 p.m. or something. But then again, it was a physical job. It was both physically and mentally demanding. So maybe that scenario doesn't apply um, to software development. And I do see your point, right? You are trying to kind of figure out how how to go from spreading out this work to making it fit into 4 days. And I don't know, maybe if you kind of like if you're interacting with third parties that work 5 days, right? Now you can't schedule a meeting on a Friday anymore, right? How does that,
So that's an
it gets a
interesting
little bit
thing.
more complicated.
I mean, that I've heard of too is like where, and not to go off on a different subject, but some companies will have a day where they don't schedule meetings.
Yeah.
So they'll have like a Tuesday or Friday or something where they're like, "This is no meetings day." I like that idea, like as a productivity thing, because meetings can really suck your life out if you're trying to actually work. But yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, the 4 day a week thing, I would like to try it maybe, but I feel like there's a strong possibility it could be a big fail. Um, I don't know.
It definitely won't work for every company. I'm sure with some companies or some industries it'll make more sense than others. I mean, it like you said, having a Friday off, pretty cool, right? It's like you have a long weekend, you know.
Plus, I mean, I think they're
Yeah,
doing it like once a month, right? So
yeah, yeah,
that's a little better than every week, I think.
yeah.
Um, I don't know. So, um, the other thing I'll say, kind of one last point of my kind of strategy for dealing with this is, if you're in a company where there's a lot of stress and pressure, maybe especially around the holidays, we have that in e-commerce. It's like, you know, Black Friday and Christmas or whatever. It's all, um, we need people working during those hours. One of the things I found would be kind of bad, especially starting a new job, let's say you're in your first year or something, would be to take a big chunk of time off all at once for whatever holiday. Like for me, I would love to take a week at Christmas, let's say. That would be very therapeutic. But for me, what I did last time that kind of worked out, I think, well, was I just took Fridays off like all month, you know, and that was kind of another strategy, or maybe just a day or two per week instead of like these longer periods, so that you can um, get your vacation in, get your time off, but not kind of disappear for a long time and come back like, oh, whoa, you know.
Well, and in that case, you probably end up working anyway, right? Because then there's this thing that happens, and they need you, and because you decided to take a long stretch of time off, assuming that nothing would happen for that time, right? You
Yeah.
end up working on your day off. Um, uh, and that's another point I wanted to bring up about the 4 day like work week. It's kind of like if something does pop up on a Friday, right? Because another third party that you guys interact with on a Friday needs you on a Friday, you're going to end up working that Friday anyway, right? Um, for for me, like right now, I'm kind of to bring it back to the holidays. I'm kind of like worried because like around holiday season, peak, more traffic than usual, that type of thing. You always hear this these horror stories about sites going down, or because they didn't expect as many people to be on the site, or I don't know, Cyber Monday, blah blah blah. Like I think Amazon went down, or
Dude.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So with as a software developer, that's always a possibility, right? That you're trying to eat some turkey on Thanksgiving, and then you get a call like, "Hey, we're gonna need you today, because like our site is down for XYZ reason."
Customers
Um,
in Turkey can't
y-
reach it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, but yeah, good points. I kind of just um, as a new person at my company, I I didn't even know I had time off. Turns out I have 2 days off, so I'm trying to figure out when to schedule those, and trying to stay away from those blackout dates, right? Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess I kind of knew this type of a talk between especially me and you would
hmm
be almost more like a therapy session of like, why do we work so much? And is it healthy? I don't know. I think it is. I mean, we're passionate guys. We like what we do.
yeah,
I only would say it only gets into the negative zone if it's affecting people, which I like to say is kind of mitigated by the like planning ahead thing, where
yeah,
it's like I'm telling people ahead of time and having that conversation. And if there's gonna be like a problem, let's talk about it ahead of time, and maybe I can, you know, do it when you're sleeping or try to work around and like cook you a
yeah.
special meal or something.
Negotiate.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the thing is, I always have this question in my mind, right? Am I not socializing because I'm working so much, or would I not socialize anyway, even if I was not working? Are you, would you consider yourself, like, have you ever asked yourself that question?
Yeah, so and I think I know the answer. It just depends what you mean by socializing cuz like I'm the type of guy where it's like I have like close friends, right? And if I'm not working, I'm going to want to be hanging with them. I'm not necessarily like wanting to go to a bar or a big concert or something. I'm not like
Yeah,
that type of socializer, but I'm definitely like kick back and play a game of poker or just chill with the boys or the gang.
yeah,
Um, so that's the thing too is that like you kind of have to have um, in place like it because I've been starting to move around quite a bit. Um, the
during
gang
COVID.
like no no that's it. Yeah, I mean that happens too, but like just like who is this group of people that I would be hanging out with instead of working? Um,
Yeah, it has to be. It's kind of like, if you're working because you feel forced to work, right?
that's a big,
Because
yeah, that's lame.
right, Er, and maybe for some people that is a problem, right? And that is definitely an issue. For us, as you pointed out, it's more of like an addiction to work, maybe, right? Maybe just too much ambition, right? And it's more of like us needing to control it. You know, the other situation where you're forced to work is a really bad place to be in, because then you couldn't even like stop working without like your boss coming down on you and stressing you out, which is just depressing.
Yeah, and I think it's a really interesting question though. Like, what would we be doing instead of kind of like our hobby, our slash career, learning more and side job hustle, trying to start our own thing? What would be the other thing we would be doing? And only thing I would say is chilling, like relaxing, taking it all in, living life, right? Like out in nature and kind of maybe exercising or some sort of reading for pleasure. I don't know. It, because it's that feedback loop of like, well, I work so that I can have a great life, so
But
I
then,
better, you know, yeah. I don't know.
but then from someone else's perspective, they're just like, people always tell me like, well, you don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow, right? So you should enjoy today. And like, I kind of have like the opposite approach of like, well, um, I want to have the life that I want to live tomorrow, so I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit more today, right? I do consider the other side, and I'm like, yeah, what if, you know, I don't know, something drastic happened, and I was just like, man, I've just been working for the last 3 years, so it's kind of tough. But to bring it back to what you were saying in terms of what would I be doing, right? Sometimes when I do have an opportunity to relax, I just get paranoid, right? I get paranoid. I'm like, man, it's like life is too good right now, right? I'm like enjoying myself way too much. And I like this whenever I'm not being productive, I just get scared. I don't know, for some reason, just anxiety just overcomes me, and I'm just like, man, I know I should be working. There's something very wrong right now. You need to go and do something, Steve. Right?
No, I don't have that problem.
You don't have that problem,
No,
like
no, no. I've heard
I,
of that. Yeah, I've definitely heard people tell me that.
I feel
Um,
like, if I just had like I don't know, if I feel like if I was set, if I had like $1 billion or something,
fu
and I
money.
had like my company
Yep.
and stuff like that, I would feel like, yeah. But I always feel like, I feel like Magento is just evolving so quickly, and like if I'm just chilling for too long, I'm I'm gonna become obsolete or something. But it's not just Magento, but just in general, I feel like I have this need to continuously move forward. And I wonder, like, if that's what pushes like these people that have like tons and tons of companies, right? And you're just thinking like, why isn't this guy just chilling on some island somewhere instead of waking up
That's
and
what I was gonna
having
say. I don't
tons
think it would ever stop. You could have $1 bajillion, and you
of
would still feel that.
yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's. I don't think it's related to. I don't want to say reality, but I don't. I don't think that feeling that you get like when you're chilling and you should be being productive. That's
Maybe
just something. But
yeah.
I think you're right. Like a lot of probably very, very successful people have that. Um, but I don't know if it's super healthy.
Yeah, maybe I should see a therapist about that.
No, I mean maybe it could be.
It'd be
I
like,
think it's definitely something that I've heard people talk about. It's not unpopular. I think it happens to quite a
yeah, yeah. It'll be like, this thing happened to you when you were a child.
all they're gonna tell you is just to chill. Go on a retreat or just turn off your technology and just get used to it. Because that's kind of like any time there's something like that it bothers you or whatever, then the advice is always, well, just do that thing. It's like exposure therapy, right? I
Yeah,
don't know if you've seen that. What is it, My Strange Addiction or whatever?
yeah.
Yeah, it's like they're just go touch a toilet seat, dude. Like that is what you have to do to get over it. Is go
What?
do the thing. Like I'm just afraid of germs. Well, they're gonna have you touch a toilet seat.
That
You
sounds
know.
like something you had to overcome. It was just such a specific example.
I think that's like the episode of it I've seen where someone's just so afraid of germs in their own house they won't even sit on their own toilet or whatever.
I I mean, I would say I'm a germaphobe to a degree, but not that bad. That's
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's the thing, though, that I think they would probably tell you, or whatever. Like, I'm armchair therapizing now. It would just be like, you're gonna have to once a month or whatever. You're gonna have to choose a day and not be productive, and you're just gonna
Yeah.
have to live with anxiety and deal with it, and you
Yeah.
know,
What forces me to do that though is when I do reach that limit where like I'm just looking at the code and it's just like uh or I'm just like, you know, I don't know, maybe I'm in a meeting or something and I'm just like, man, I really don't want to be there. Cuz most of the time if I'm doing something like I'm engaged, right? No matter like a lot of people find certain things boring, like there are very few things that I find boring. So I'm usually super engaged, right? No matter what the topic is. When I find myself just kind of like, oh man, I wish I wasn't here or I can't concentrate, I I'm kind of like forced, right? Because at that point I know like, okay, I know this feeling. I'm getting I'm burnt out or I'm approaching being burnt out.
yeah,
Hopefully I can learn to master how to like regulate that like you seem like either you've seen a therapist or
yeah. No, I've definitely seen a therapist, but I think it's just like a longer time that I've been doing it, and it's like just like you said, it's just over time you kind of learn like how to walk up to that edge but not cross it,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And who knows if I'm doing it right or whatever. I mean, I'm not. That was the funny part about this topic. I feel like so qualified to talk about work-life balance. My wife
But
says I do good though. Like I checked in with the third party, like, and she's
yeah,
like, "No, you're good." I mean, the big thing is the planning ahead and not always going as hard as you can, putting that inside of a box and saying, "Look, this coming month, it's going to be amazing. I'm going to do so much extra work and blah, blah, blah." And the other people are like, okay, well, great. But what is the exact date that it ends? And I'm like, this date. And then I stick to it, and I actually stop at that time. And then I switch back in the other mode for, I don't know, could be a couple of weeks or a couple of months or whatever until we kind of have the talk again. Like I have this idea or I have this side job or I want to do this course and I'm going to go
yeah.
nuts. And it's like, okay, freaking go nuts. I'll see you on the other side.
That's that's inspiring. I'll I feel like yeah, you are my therapist right now.
It's all good, man. Yes.
I should I feel like I should like write you a check or something.
Oh, yeah. I'll take the proceeds from all the likes, smash that like button, hit subscribe, click the bell so that you get alerts from a gentleman.
Yeah, yeah.
All
Um,
right. I think we got to end it here.
yep.
Unless you have any final thoughts.
No final thoughts. Just thank you.
Of course, man. I just want to say, is it all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy?
That's deep,
I think is that a Shining
profound,
quote?
profound.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it? You
I
mean like the movie?
Jack Nicholson is all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. That's a let me double check.
Uh, I assumed it was,
Yeah,
maybe.
The Shining,
Mm,
1980. This movie came out before I was born
good to know.
because I'm such a young man. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool deal. Gentlemen, signing off.
Bye,
Have a
guys.
good night.